Hey everyone. Welcome back to Strange Mind 6. I'm your host Ruby, and today we're going to be getting back into the book of Superstitions, a handbook of folklore, myths, and legends from around the world by D.R. McElroy. But before we begin, I would like to say thank you for all the likes and all the subscriptions. It means a great deal to me to know that you guys want to be a part of this family, this community, and it just makes me want to work harder and put out more content for you guys. So, without further ado, please sit back or grab a snack and let's get to this. Western Europe. While Western Europe is dwarfed by its eastern brother, it has played a major, if not the major, role in determining the governance of the nations of the world. Western Europe, including subdivisions of Southern and Central Europe, contains the countries of Austria, Belgium, Croatia, and the Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, France, Germany, Hungary, Ireland, Italy, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, Monaco, the Netherlands, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Slovakia, Slovenia, Spain, Sweden, Switzerland, and the United Kingdom, and sometimes, depending on which governing body is defining it, the smaller nations of Andorra, Greece, Iceland, Latvia, Lithuania, Malta, Monaco, and San Marino. The Republic of Turkey is actually transcontinental, with the greater portion of it residing on the continent of Asia. Christianity is far and away the predominant religion in Western Europe, with over 70% of the population identifying themselves as Christian. Following the Great Schism of 1054 CE, the Christian world was divided into Western Christianity, Catholic and Protestant religions that used the Latin alphabet, and Eastern Christianity, Orthodox religions that use the Greek or Cyrillic alphabets. Dividing Europe along strictly religious lines is problematic for countries like Greece, which is overwhelmingly Orthodox, but is practically never included in what would be called Eastern Europe for various reasons. Also, because of the influence of the former USSR, countries like Hungary, East Germany, Poland, and Romania came to be associated with Eastern Europe and Russia rather than with the West and the so-called Western Bloc, countries that were divided by their loyalties during the Cold War. Religion, which is the source of most mythology in Western Europe, was historically Catholic until the rise of Protestantism in the 16th century. Prior to this, religious zealotry was frequent and included the scourge of the Spanish Inquisition, as well as religious wars such as the Crusades. Celtic gods and goddesses. The ancient Celts weren't limited to the British Isles, but instead spread across vast tracts of Europe and Asia, taking their art and culture influences to people as far away as China. Now, I might say these names a bit wrong, but please bear with me. I am trying my best. Ain, goddess of love, summer, wealth, and kingship. She is sometimes represented by a red mare and is referred to as a fairy queen. A sun or a moon goddess and goddess of abundant harvest. She is an ancient goddess who has taken on many different aspects through the centuries. She is the Lady of the Lake in Arthurian myth, Mother Nature and Goddess of the Earth, and Goddess of Magic and Luck, the embodiment of the luck of the Irish. Her history is complex, but she has strong ties to County Limerick and County Munster. Some even see her as an aspect of the Morgan. Al-Fadir, as an omnipotent all-father of several Frankish tribes and generally associated with Wotan, Woden, Odin. Al-Fadir is the supreme deity of Norse myth. All-Father is another of Odin's epithets. Odin was believed to reside in clumps of sacred oaks, and sacrifices of game animals, and perhaps humans, were made on altars to him in those groves. Eosi, or Aes Sedhi, Ireland, Scotland. These are supernatural beings similar to elves and fairies. The term Seath in Scottish Gaelic means mounds and refers to the belief that these beings live in earthen mounds underground. Belenus, Italy. Belenus, spelling varies, is the ancient god of the sun who is still celebrated during the neo-pagan festivals of Beltane, May Day, which mark the start of summer. He is strongly associated with horses, and he may be affiliated with the Greco-Roman god Apollo, who drove his shining chariot of the sun across the sky each day. Brigid, or Bridget, Ireland. Goddess of hand-to-hand combat, poetry, healing, smithing, chickens, farmhands, single mothers, and cowherds, among other things. She is the fiery and highly popular daughter of Dagda. She survived the arrival of Christianity by becoming Saint Bridget. Cernunnos, Gol. Cernunnos is the god of fertility, animals, and life. Cernunnos is the horn god, which may have been the model for the Christian devil, with his horned head and cloven feet. Cernunnos represents the wilderness of nature and the undisciplined aspects of humanity. To Christians, he is an example of what can become of you if you don't pay strict attention to the tenets of the faith. Credni, Ireland. Credni is a smith of precious metals for the Tuatha De Danann, together with his brothers Gobnio and Luchtain. He formed the trinity known as the Tridana, the three gods of art, who forged the magical weapons of the Tuatha De Danann, used against the Fomorians. He is frequently confused with Creadine, a female warrior of Irish myth. Dagda. Also, Dagda and Dagda Eochad Alothar, Ireland. Dagda is the first king of the Tuatha De Danann. He is a god of war, death, feasting, and magic. A hardy being with an enormous appetite, he is said to own a giant cauldron of stew that never empties and a roasting boar that never runs out of meat. His war club is so massive that it must be transported in a wheeled cart. The working end will kill you, but the handle can bring you back to life. He is generally jovial and hard partying. Dagda is married to the Morrigan, and he fathered the war goddess Brigid. Epona, Gaul. Epona is the goddess of horses and one of the most ancient Celtic deities. The Celts used horses as well as mules and donkeys, which likely performed the grudge work of plowing and bearing burdens. For agriculture, war, and traveling great distances, making the animals a crucial part of Celtic life. Epona is considered so powerful and important that even the invading Roman legions took up worship of her to the extent of honoring her with her own feast day on the Roman calendar. As she is often depicted with bread or grain, which might have been meant for feeding horses, she is thought to have been celebrated as a goddess of abundance and fertility as well. Eriu, Ireland. Eriu is the matron goddess and namesake of the island of Erie, Ireland. Together with her sisters Banba and Fodla, she comprises a triumvirate and sovereignty goddess who, by virtue of being the living embodiment of a territory, confer kingship of it on a husband or lover. Eriu and her sisters are queens of the Tuatha De Danann. Lir, also Lir, Lir, an old Irish primordial sea god, the personification of the ocean. Lir fathered Manannan, Mac Lir, who became god of the sea, a character who may or may not be the same. Lir suffered 4 of his children being changed into swans for 900 years in the Irish folk tale The Children of Lir. Luch, Ireland, god of the sunlight and handcrafts, and chief god of Irish Celts. His name means shining, and he is depicted as fair-haired and handsome. His invincible spear, which accompanies him everywhere, seems like an extension of his arm, giving him the nickname Hugh, long arms. He is patron of almost everything, including music, magic, healing, harvest, and war. He is also the father of the legendary Irish hero Cuchulainn. Born of a union between a Fomorian woman and a man of the Tuatha De Danann, and raised as a foster by the great god of the sea, Manannan Mac Lir, Luch chose to help the Tuatha De Danann against their mortal enemies. It was Luch who led the Fae folk against the Fomorians, killing his grandfather Baelor, king of the Fomorians, by shooting him in the eye with a slingshot and then cutting off Baelor's head. Note the similarity to the biblical story of David and Goliath. The Fomorians were believed to be the sons of Ham, who was cursed by his father Noah. Luch is still celebrated during the traditional harvest festival of Lughnasadh or Lughnasa. Macha, Ireland. An Irish fertility goddess, the king of Ulster forced Macha to race against his horses while she was heavily with child. Despite this, she won and then cursed the men of Ulster to feel the pains of labor every time they went into battle. She is sometimes counted as one of the 3 faces of the Morrigan, and she is usually depicted with red hair. Manannan Mac Lir, Ireland. Irish god of the sea and one of the founding members of the Tuatha De Danann. Manannan possessed a boat named Wave Sweeper, which didn't need sails, a magical sword named Answerer or Retaliator, which could cut through any armor and which forced anyone to tell the truth when confronted with its point. A flaming helmet and a cloak of mist that rendered him invincible. It was he who provided the mist, the fifth fiada, that the Tuatha De Danann used to hide themselves from human sight, as well as the feasting boar that never ran out of meat. A similar creature was owned by Odin. He also owned a spotted cow that only gave milk that was honey flavored and alcoholic mead, as well as a number of other magical items. The highest ranked god after Dagda in the pre-Christian pantheon, Manana MacLeir, transported the remaining Tuatha De Danann to the mysterious other world, the Sed. Following their defeat by the Malsian people, the Malsian were the first invading mortals to rule Ireland. Manannan subsequently became god of the underworld and protector of the Seath. Maeve, Ireland, Irish mother goddess and queen of Connaught. Her name means intoxication and doesn't only refer to drunkenness. She makes her suitors fall hopelessly in love with her, then makes them fight to the death. She famously prevailed in battle against forces of Ulster, but was reduced to lore to simply Maeve, Queen of the Fairies, following the arrival of Christianity. The Morgan, also Morgan, Morigu, Morning, Ireland. Terrifying war goddess and beautiful mother goddess, the Morgan is the most powerful goddess in the Celtic myth. A founding member of the Tuatha De Danann, she always picks the winning side in any battle. Perhaps her presence alone is enough to turn the tide, and she is frequently joined in battle by her sisters, Badb and Niman, who help her rip the enemy to pieces. The sisters are sometimes thought of as a trinity, a deity with three aspects, while in other discussions the Morgan's other faces seem to be Badb the war crow and Macha. As a shape shifter, the Morgan has many aspects. Her primary form is a battle crow, though she can also change from gorgeous woman to wizened hag. In the latter form, she is usually referred to as the washerwoman or the washer of the ford. Also, she terrifies the enemy by being seen washing their bloody uniforms in the nearest river, thus heralding their doom. Ogma, battle god of Celtic myth. Ogma was the model for the berserkers, legendary warriors were driven insane by battle lust and had to be restrained with leather straps and metal chains to keep them from rushing into battle too soon. Ogma was depicted as a huge, swarthy man, mature of years and armed with a war club and a bow or sword. He also may surprisingly have been a god of eloquence, gifted with glibness and wit to turn the hearts and minds of his foes. Some illustrations show a chain gang of men linked to the god's tongue and trailing behind him the historic Ogham alphabet of Ireland was named for him. Tyrannus, Gull, Ireland, northern Spain. God of thunder, Tyrannus, is very strong, associated with the wheel, which appears as a motif throughout Celtic influenced lands. Tyrannus was folded into the mantle of Jupiter by the Romans. In Irish Gaelic, his name is Turian, various spellings, and it shared the same root as the Norse Thor and the Germanic Donar, both gods of thunder. Tuatha De Danann, Ireland, currently described as the Fae, or the fairy folk of Ireland. The Tuatha De Danann were once considered gods and the ancestors of the Irish people. They are said to have arrived mysteriously in a cloud of mist from across the northern sea. Tuatha De Danann is said to mean the children of Danu. Danu was the ancient creator, goddess of the earth, together with her husband Don, who would be turned into the oaken world tree that held up the heavens. She made the earth from a chunk of dry dirt that she watered with her copious tears. The Tuatha De Danann were rich in magic and ancient power, which not only enabled them to overcome the Fomorians, but also establish the Tuatha De Danann as gods among men. They brought with them from across the sea 4 deeply magical objects: Leah Fail, the Stone of Destiny, also the Stone of Scone, upon which ancient Irish and later Scottish kings were crowned; the invincible Spear of Lugh, which always hit its target mere moments after being thrown, and made Lugh unstoppable in battle; the Shining Sword of Nuada, also called the Sword of Light, which could allegedly dispel truth from lies, enforce the law, dispense justice, and punish the enemies of Ireland; and the Cauldron of Dagda, which not only continuously dispensed unlimited food and drink to the worthy, but was also capable of healing wounds and resurrecting dead warriors. Tuatha De Danann were larger, stronger, and more beautiful than ordinary men, as well as highly skilled in the arts of music, crafts, language, and war, and magic. The Druids arose from them. They were also the last supernatural race of beings to rule Ireland. They were defeated by the Malesians, a race of mortals from northern Europe, also the Gaels, the true ancestors of the Irish people. Over time, the Tuatha De Danann became associated with the places they lived, the mounds, above and below ground, to which they retreat, and the term the Sith has come to refer to the beings themselves and not just the other world. And this, my friend, is where we will leave it off. I do hope that you enjoyed it, and tune in next time for Germanic gods and goddesses. And as always, this is Ruby, signing off.